Welcome to Voice of the Voiceless, an all audio podcast where your story matter the most. Join Pete and Maddie as they venture this collaboration project. Be bold, be brave, be one of the voice of the voiceless.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Voice of the Voiceless. Unfortunately, Maddie is not here today, but we invited a very special guest. Please welcome in Jewel. Jewel, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jewel. I'm part of the Truth Table podcast, but I'm here today.
And our guest today is Alynne. Alynne, how you doing today? Tell everybody a little more about yourself.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on and giving me this opportunity to share. So, I'm Alynne Davis. I am I wear a lot of different hats. But I am a clinical mental health counselor and a expressive arts therapist and also a coach. I'm a mom. I raised two teenagers on my own, so that is part of my life and part of my experience that I get to share with all my clients.
Okay, let's back up. What was that second thing you said you were? Because I don't think I've ever heard that term ever said in my life to me.
Yeah, an expressive arts
Yeah.
therapist.
So, what
Yeah.
is that exactly? Maybe elaborate on that for me.
Yeah. So I decided to go back to school because I actually wasn't a therapist originally. I was a hairdresser for 20 years. And as I was starting to explore where I wanted to go in my next part of my career, I felt, or where I should say, I felt called to go. I started exploring going back to school for art therapy originally. But as I started to look into that profession and that path, I discovered expressive arts. And expressive arts is using any form of creative modality that helps use nonverbal expression of like trauma. So maybe it's art making, maybe it's poetry and writing, maybe it's dance movement, maybe it's music. It's really interesting now to watch how many things are starting to, like, kinda branch more into this, especially in the healing space,
Yeah.
and so when you're probably more familiar with things like somatic work with, like, maybe, like, sound healing
Yep.
or something like or yoga, like, that's movement therapy, right? So but the theory kinda behind expressive arts is that each modality actually deepens the process and kinda goes a little bit further into the subconscious, and it allows for things to kind of arrive in a safer sense, if that makes sense, like, you don't have to and a lot of times we don't have words, right? We don't have words for things that have happened to us, or we don't know how to explain or express these feelings, so we can use these creative outlets to do that.
Yeah, no, music definitely hits for me. But art too, because with art you can do different things. Like a lot of expressive pieces you see that they don't make sense to the people, but they make sense to the person who's doing it. And then when somebody explains it to you, what their thought process is, either A, you're left thinking, "What the hell am I looking at?" or "Oh, okay, I get it." You know what I mean? Like it's the one of the two options you're at that point.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's really cool though. What got you into that though? Was that just something? Have you always Are you big in art or music or any of those kind of things?
Yeah. So, have always been an artist.
Okay.
I've always drawn and painted, and I would just call myself a creative soul because then I also was a singer, and I ended up being in theater for a long time and minoring in that. And so that's actually part of my work too. I do like drama therapy or psychodrama work.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I've just been always been a creative, and I've always just been different, to be very frank. So
She said
finding something.
she says it's big different the way she's looking at me like too. I would say it's just kinda different. I'm like, "Okay, dude." Like, I feel like you're like looking at me like, "You get it, Pete." I'm like, "What do you" like, I feel you put me on blast over here or something. But no, I get it though. It makes sense. So, like, music's always expressive because I've had some people on the main show I do, we've talked about a lot of their music being derived from mental health situations they dealt with and things they're going through and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So, but music's universal if you really think about it, because a lot of people, they use music to feel better. Like, one song that you always listen to, like my main show, I'll ask people, like, what if your mental health had a song, what would it be? So, and then people had
Ooh,
to think about what that song would be, and it,
that's actually a perfect example of an intervention I might do with a client, especially when I'm, like, working with, like, adolescents. A lot of times they really can resonate more with music and,
yeah.
like, if they can't express something that's going on, I might ask them to find a song that has the lyrics
Mhm,
maybe
mhm.
or the beat or the sound to that. Like, what does that bring up for you in your body? And like, what does that help, hit for you, I guess, right? Like
Yeah.
I do, yeah. So that's a perfect example of kind of
Yeah,
getting an,
because you've seen lately on TikTok, what is it, that Motionless White song, Alone in the Dark or whatever it is? Afraid of the Dark, that song by Motionless White, that one end of the last lyrics of the song where it's like, now I know the creature of the dark kind of thing. That whole thing. You always see people using it though, but I mean, it makes sense though, because it makes sense in the moment of what you're saying. So, that's why I love music though. Me and another guest, we had talked about it for like an hour and a half about this girl that he had known that was 12 years old, that she was struggling with a lot of things and he was using music as a therapy for, like, to have her write a song with them. Unfortunately,
yeah,
now they lost her a few hours later because she ended up committing suicide after she started writing this song with him. It was a real hard story to listen to. Me and him were talking about it, but the effects in music alone were just still there. It's just like, you all have that song or those playlists you put together and things like that. So a lot of times I was doing that too for people, putting together what my mental health felt like that day or that week, and I put together a different song list of things that just kind of describe different things, the emotions I'm feeling. So I get the whole expressive thing. I think it's really cool, honestly. I think it's a very interesting way for people that don't like talk therapy or don't, there's so many different things nowadays you can do, hypnotherapy and somatic and all those different things.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I do a lot of layering. I like it a lot because it's very helps me be more individualized
Mhm.
for the client, right? Like it just certain things are going to work for certain people.
Yeah.
There's not one size fits all. So,
Yeah, there's a girl on Instagram I saw recently. She's doing sculptures about different mental health things, and they're really cool the way that they come out. And I was like, man, they're really cool to see. And I know there's a girl on TikTok that does a lot of paintings of it too. For people that
mhm,
really don't get what it's like to be in these realms for people. And when I started Pete Fritz Anxiety, that's what I was doing. I started exploring different avenues of things that people deal with and try to get real statements from people like what they deal with. Because like people don't understand what a lot of these things are. You hear them, but you're like, like
mhm,
BPD, a lot of people think it's bipolar, but it's really borderline personality disorder. And you and I know what it is. You know what I mean? Joel, you may know what it is too. I'm not, I don't know how extensive that is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people associate it with different things, but when you really look at it on a spectrum, it's way different. And then a lot of these individuals get characterized as crazy or difficult to deal with, but it's really not. It's what they're dealing with. And we have these phones, but it's great. We use them for everything but looking up this information to see that what these people deal with.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, and a lot of that is actually complex PTSD is what actually a lot of personality disorder stuff
Yeah,
is. So I think it gets really a bad rap and people don't really know exactly, what that person is really dealing with
exactly.
internally.
I think
Yeah,
it's a really
I
good
have
point.
bipolar too, and I kind of I kind of deal with things in like I use dark humor,
Mhm.
and people that don't know me, like it makes them really uncomfortable. It makes them really uncomfortable, but it's kind of like a way of like I don't know, dealing with it or like healing in like my own way.
I love that. I mean, that's something that I might use too, is like externalizing the character of these different feelings or these different things that are going on for us. It's a much easier way to access, I think, sometimes. And if you have a dark, like dark humor might be part of that part of you, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense that you can joke about your own mental health problems, but people don't get it. Like Joel was saying, some people that don't know or don't realize that's what she's doing, though. And I think it's
Mhm.
funny because I met a guy, me and him had a conversation about that. Like, that's what he did. He taught people how to use comedy, but to deal with their own issues. Like, if you can't laugh at yourself, then what are you going to laugh at? You know what I mean? And I get the dark jokes. It great with me. Like, I'll make some too sometimes with people, and people just like, yeah, but it's not meant to upset you. It's meant to, just
Well,
how I'm feeling.
I love to when people are uncomfortable, that's just something I always see as that's the thing that probably they haven't dealt with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
I
okay.
remember at work one time, someone was like it was like Monday, and someone was asking me how my weekend went, and I was like, "Oh, it was just one of those I kind of wanted to throw a toaster in the bathtub with me kind of
I love it.
weekends."
I
And
love it.
I ended up getting called into HR because because it made them feel so uncomfortable. I was like, "I'm sorry." I was like, "It was just a joke." Like
Yeah.
like, that's it. It was just a joke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my boss tells me all the time, she's like, "You need to pick your audience," because we were discussing why people don't get along with me sometimes. She's like, "I think people like to joke with you and then realize that you're just too good at picking back at them, and they get mad, and it's like, I can't help it, I'm sorry, I'm just good at it, I'm quick at responses too," and she's like, "Yeah, we were discussing that the other because we were talking about the same thing." Like, I'm surprised HR hasn't been called for some of the jokes I make with people, but it's like, just all fun banter, because like I joke with other people, and in the same situation with the dark humor thing. It's like when you banter with certain people, they get it, and then you realize what people don't get it because then they get all of their feelings, and it's like it's not like that. We understand what's going on now. It may appear to you that we're going at it, but we're having a great time over here. We're laughing about everything, and things like that too, and it makes me laugh because when people do get uncomfortable and they're like, oh, well, it's like, all right, let's talk about it. Why are you uncomfortable though? What makes it so uncomfortable? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But they don't want to do that part. They're like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Well, then
Well,
don't
that's
say
the
you're uncomfortable.
vulnerability. That's
Exactly.
the vulnerability, right? Like, learning how to be vulnerable and having that conversation, that's a big part of the work that I feel like I do all the time is,
Yeah.
like, providing a space just so that we can share and talk about those really uncomfortable feelings that we even talk about resistance. That's what essentially you're talking about, right? Is there's a reason we don't to talk about certain things. We are that's a protective part of us, right? Like but that goes back to shame. And that only way that we can actually dispel shame and heal that is by bringing it out into the light and actually talking about it in a compassionate way so that we can really start to break down those narratives that keep us really trapped and stuck.
I feel like a lot of people try to, but do it in the wrong sense of, way they're doing it because they go like the internet, which, yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a good place to go do that at, guys. No, because we've had several people that I've talked to before, especially Maddie too. She'd gone out and told people what she deals with. She's schizoaffective, so she has a bunch. So trying to explain that to someone who doesn't really get things, she's on the internet sharing her story, and people are telling her to go to the mental hospital, realizing not realizing she has been to all these places. I know I'm crazy. You ain't got to tell me. And it's scary because the internet is a scary place. Like, we've already discussed this, and we have a group conversation we do Wednesdays. We get together, a friend of mine, Uncle Jimmy, and we talk about this, and we were looking at the statistics, and kids alone, mental health in the kids alone, when the internet is not a great mix. 56% say it's not effective. So then why do we allow them to still be on there so much? That's the real question we have to start
How do
asking
we keep
ourselves.
them from getting on there, though? I have
That
2
too. That
teenager,
too.
and literally I don't they're so smart. It's like we could lock down everything and they still find a way. I
Okay,
mean,
so let me ask you this question. Are you open with them about their mental health and things like that? I mean, obviously that's your area, it's got to be an open dialogue conversation, especially
yeah.
with them being teenagers and how complex it is for them.
Yeah, 100%. It's really interesting. So I have a daughter and then I have a son. My daughter's older and my son is the younger one. And, she is very open, very open to counseling, is asked specifically sometimes, like, hey, I need to go back to counseling. I need to see a therapist. My son, on the other hand, much more resistant.
Yeah.
And I think it's his relationship with himself as well as potentially me or even mental health, right?
Yeah.
Like it's interesting to watch because as much information as they do have out there, which I thought would help like stop the stigmatization, and like make it more able to be vulnerable, like it still affects them to where, he doesn't really want to talk. He
These are
doesn't
men.
really want,
Well,
so
let's be honest. We're men. That's what it is. We don't want to talk about it. We see these things. He sees these other people, these larger life figures that say, "Don't do it because it makes you less of a man." My real concern for his age range, though, is that 10 to 14 in that age range are the suicide rates went up this year alone. Like, the beginning of this year, they released some of the statistics, and it's on the uprise, which is a scary thought because that's 10 to 14. You Most people make it to 50, 60 before they end up trying. You know what I mean? Like, that's your 40 years.
I mean, he's 15 and we've had the most problems for the last 2 years,
That's what I'm
honestly.
saying, though. That's my biggest concern is that on the uptick, and it's just like,
Mm.
and then the whole situation where ChatGPT was like, talking about how that one kid ended up killing himself because ChatGPT was telling him how to do it. Because I partnered with an AI
Mm.
app, and that was one of the questions a lot of people asked me about. Was like, oh, is it going to tell me how to kill myself like ChatGPT? No, it's not, because the guy that invented it, Jules, had said he literally went to that way to make sure he disabled anything leading to it. And if it went to that part of a conversation that it'll ask them, "Hey, do you want to contact, 98 or whatever country, whatever fits for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, do we need to call the cops or need to phone your local police department and let them know there's a problem? Like the app will prompt them to, if you're feeling that like unsafe, do
Yeah.
we need to go to
Yeah.
these extents?
I would love to know though how effective that really is because when you're in that place, a lot of people are not gonna take that route, even if you suggest it. I
Yeah.
hate to say it, like,
Yeah. No, I agree.
Like
so
I mostly post on TikTok and I'm like a TikTok live host. So I like with my ADHD, like I know what I want to say, but like I explain it and it takes me like 20 minutes to explain it. So I use the voice thing and I say to chat like what I want to say. And then it compresses like my big humongous thought into like exactly what I want to say.
mhm.
And and I post about mental health, bipolar and ADHD and anxiety and stuff. And when depending on like what I'm saying to chat, it does actually prompt me and it's like
Hmm.
it'll be like, just so you know, like it's okay to like whatever and do you need to call 988 or
Yeah, they've definitely changed that since they first launched.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to, I'm assuming.
Well, after the Facebook ruling too, now Facebook has to police their own sites and things like that. Then you notice the Instagram Kids account came out where parents can monitor who kids are talking to and all that kind of stuff. All of a sudden, it showed up now. Now they have to police their sites because Facebook, Instagram are in partnership together. They're basically both under the same branding title, but different titles of names of apps. But that whole thing came out. It was a big interesting turn because these individuals would go online and say crazy shit, and then nobody say nothing to them. Oh, well, you're not that's why they're so strict now, in TikTok especially, you gotta be careful with what you say because these guys will shut you down instantly. "Oh, you get a warning for saying this," or "You get a warning for" even though you're having an intellectual conversation, it's like, "Oh, you can't do it." But you want us to be expressive, but then you wanna calm down the conversation. Well, if this is truly an 18 plus app, then we should be able to have an adult conversation and
right.
it not be a problem, you know what I'm saying? But I get flagged all the time whenever I'm talking about certain things. Even if I'm coding the word, still they still catch it as
So do I. It'll say, something like ineligible for, like, the FYP or
Mhm.
something, and then I always go in and I appeal it, and then most of the time it gets approved.
Yeah, but you're saying it's like you want us to be individuals. We're trying to have an actual conversation on something that needs to be discussed. And then you're telling us we're not allowed to talk because we're adults. That's the whole point we're here is because it's adults. Like there shouldn't be kids. Like, kids are still going to figure out how to get it. We've all figured it anyways.
I was gonna say,
VPNs, all going,
My
you know what I'm saying?
son my son now, he's 17, but, like, whenever he was in middle school, like, all the kids nowadays, like, they want social media,
Mhm.
but, like, you have to be technically a certain age to have it. Well, all you do is go in and change their birth date, so I found that, whenever my son wanted one, he was, like, 12 or 13, so I Facebook actually had that thing at that time
The
where
kids
you
one,
could
yeah.
set up like, parental whatever, and so, like, that's what we did for the longest time, and he doesn't know it, but it's still set up that way.
I mean, you're
But, like,
not
a
wrong
lot of
though.
his friends are on my accounts, and, like, they're always looking me up, and they're coming into my live room, so, like, I always make sure like, I can tell whenever it's them based on, like, what they're saying in the
Hmm.
chat, and so, like, I always make sure to, like, talk about specifically, like, teen mental health, like, whenever I can see them in the room because I know a lot of them do struggle with mental health and
Yeah.
like, a lot of them have, like, autism or, like, ADHD and stuff like that, and I know his one friend who comes in, like, he has, like, severe depression, and, like, he actually had to leave school because, like I mean, he was, like his mom was getting letters, I think they're, like, truancy letters, because he was out of school more than he was in school, so she ended up pulling him out and doing homeschooling, and I remember my one cousin, she actually got bullied in school so badly that she ended up having to get pulled out
mm,
and do homeschooling. So it's crazy right now.
Yeah, but the history of bullying has always been there, though. Think about it. Dazed and Confused. Remember what they were doing? They were paddling those kids in that movie out of that small town out of where the hell they filmed it here in Texas, where I'm at. I think they did it somewhere near San Antonio, if I remember right. They filmed it, but that whole movie, that was the thing that they were running around paddling people, and then when you
mhm.
go say something to these schools, they're like, "Oh, well, no, it's just they're just playing." Really? But when does it end though? When these kids are doing things or harming themselves or taking their own lives, when does the bullying get too much that we need to stand up and say something about it, especially the kids that are
Well,
special
the sad
needs and
thing
nothing
is,
else.
though, the kids won't always talk about it either. That's where
Exactly.
a lot
They won't.
yeah, that's where a lot of it happens too.
He had a kid, this was, like, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. There was this kid, it was so sad. Like, apparently he was, like, being bullied online and being
Mhm.
bullied in school. He didn't tell anybody. Like, he kept it all to himself. And one night, his mom came home from work, and she found him hanging by a belt in his closet,
Jesus. Poor mom.
because he just
Jesus.
couldn't deal with it anymore.
Yeah, that's
But
rough.
he just kept it all inside, like, he was too ashamed to talk about it.
And I think that's what I really think is that the reform needs to happen in the school. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's we really need more trauma-informed schools, in my
Mhm.
opinion. When you're even when as I was thinking about what you were talking about with, like, Facebook and Instagram and them now finally kinda stepping up to the plate, well, who's helping form these businesses? Are they trauma-informed? Probably not,
No.
right?
You got
Like,
a good
And
point though. Good point.
because if there was more people on staff that were helping, I think the administration, the teachers, all of them understand better what to be looking for, what to be seeing, because behaviors are what kids show us. They don't usually talk about it, they do it through behavior.
Mhm.
And so many people judge that so harshly, like they're being like disrespectful or they're just spiteful. Well, no, most of the time kids are just hurting. Kids are just like,
Mhm.
things are going on at home. Maybe they are witnessing domestic violence. Maybe they're not sleeping because they're so anxious and that's why they're falling asleep in class. It's
Yeah.
not because they want to be falling asleep in class and being lazy, right? So I think that is one of the big
I
things that's missing.
I think that's all great points. I really think that's really what it comes down to is we need more trauma informed people involved in everything. With everything going on when COVID hit, especially everything started coming to the forefront. All these people's issues started showing up. But what did we do? We didn't do anything about it. We just kept sweeping it under the rug. Think of all the school shootings that happened. What's the number one thing they all mention? Oh, well, they had mental health issues. Okay, so then why don't we do something about this problem? Why continue to let these heinous acts for these poor kids? Like Sandy Hook and all these other ones, and then the one here in Texas where that one got out of hand, all the things like that. Why don't we do something about this? Why are we allowing this to continue to happen instead of trying to help these individuals? Or if we know there's something wrong, work on a better system, but we don't. But Maddie and I actually are going to have a senator when I get back this next week from when I get back from my trip from Chicago to see my daughter graduate high school. We're gonna talk and sit down with the senator who's actually pushing for that for kids to get more mental health help, and things like that too. So we'll have to ask him about what he thinks about pushing for that for schools as well too. If he has any ideas or any plans for that? Because I think that's a really good question you brought up, though. You're really good point it too. Is that something probably we need to start asking him too? It's like, are we going to do something with these problems? Or are we going to continue to let this be an issue and just keep saying nothing's wrong? But then there's something wrong because these guys aren't talking about it because they're ashamed about it. And that's why I push so hard with my main show. It's just creating that safe space for people to come talk about it because there's people that have told me some wild stories. Like we hit record and let me tell you, you go off. You go off into some tangents and some stories, and they feel so comfortable to tell you about it, though. And it's great. And then I'm traumatized afterwards. I may need some help after some of these episodes because there's a girl that was on TikTok that came on and was
Yeah.
telling us that she got bullied so bad. She went home, drank bleach, and slit her wrist and was laying there for dead. And yeah, trust me, when she said that, I was speechless the rest of the time. Like, I was like, huh? Wait, what did you just say to me? It's like, it's a lot. And then what was it? This past season, I just wrapped up season 3. The like fourth or fifth person in, she was like, I got sexually assaulted, and then people were making fun of me. Look, you're making
Yeah,
fun
I
of
was
somebody.
just gonna mention that. I was gonna mention, what was that story about how you ranted on camera
Oh
that you
yeah, 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 yeah.
mentioned
So the
on
guest, the
our
guest name is Holly Hag is the guest name. So if you go look at season 3, Holly Hag's the interview you're looking for, Jewel. If you go look at it, that's the one I went on camera. I ranted for about 5 minutes because I was pissed. I was like, "You're gonna sit there and make fun of somebody for being sexually assaulted? Like they chose for these things to happen to them? It's fucking despicable." I was going off because I was so pissed. And I'm like, how are you gonna make fun of somebody who's traumatized now the rest of their life and didn't even remember any of it? Actually, in fact, she didn't
Well,
know
that's
about
where
it.
we have so much lack of compassion in
Exactly.
our collective, honestly. I actually feel like it got worse since COVID. I don't know what happened, what switched, but it's just
The
like
internet? More people on the
Probably.
internet. Think about it, because you had
Yeah.
more people to get on the internet. And as we
Yeah.
looked at the statistics with Uncle Jimmy, 56% of kids say it's not positive for them. So that's where this all started. Is because now the internet was born. It got even bigger than it was before. Because remember, we had AOL and all these other things. It was different. You had to look at somebody
Mhm.
to say something, or you had to go into one of these popular
Well,
chat
and I mean,
rooms.
that makes sense too because, right, like, there's so much of a rise of social anxiety. People can't real kids don't know how to have, like they don't have social skills now a
Mhm.
lot.
My son does not have any at all. Like, he has a physical coming up, and he's like I said, he's 17 now, and he's driving and everything, and I remember whenever I was a kid, at, like, 15, I was going to the doctors by myself,
Yeah.
and so I was like, "Do you wanna do this one on your own?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." He's like, "I've never done this before." He's like, "I need you to come with me."
Well, and, and
Gotta
I hate to
traumatize
say
that poor
this,
kid. He's
but
like, oh God.
well, as parents, I think that's part of our responsibility, right? Is to help them learn
Yeah.
social skills and to encourage them to do it in a compassionate, kind, and a safe environment, right? Like, I started doing that with my children from age 5 on. It was like just as small as go up to the person at Chick-fil-A and ask for your own ice cream cone.
Yeah.
It's just like you can't throw them into the deep water, right? Like, you wanna do it and it's age appropriate, right? But, like, starting we have to model that for them. We have to, mentor them,
Yeah.
essentially. That's our job, right?
Yes. I have really bad social anxiety, and I absolutely hate making phone calls. Like, I am a
Mhm,
texting person, like, 1,000%, and I do not like making phone calls. And so my son, he's, like, starting to, like, look for jobs and such. And, like, if whenever I was his age, like, back then, you had to, like, always make, like, a follow-up
Mm-hmm.
call.
yep,
Yep. I
And
remember those.
like, that's what I'm trying to teach him, and he gets so nervous, I literally have to write out, like, because like, for giant like, I don't know if you guys have giant food stores where you're at, but that's what it is here, and I literally so, like, whenever you call in, you get the front desk, and I have to literally write him, like, a script.
mm,
Like, "Hi, my name is blah, 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 blah. I had an interview, and I am just calling to follow up on that." And then I have to write him another script for in case he gets to the manager to ask about
mhm.
the interview, and, like, if he got the job, I have to write out another script. And then you can tell whenever, like, she's, like, asking, like, something that I didn't write down because he gets all tongue-tied and, like, he doesn't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, at least
That's
you're
funny.
helping him along. Sometimes scripts are needed. I mean, the more he does it, right, the more he'll build that muscle, repetition, he'll get more confident. I mean, I think that's great that you're supporting him like that. There's no shame in
I
that.
know. I think it's great. I think that you're helping him understand how to form the sentence of what to say, so he has a better idea structurally what he should do. I mean, it's a great idea for somebody like you
Yeah.
said, for somebody who doesn't have any social skills. You're teaching him how to handle a phone call conversation, even you don't like doing. But we had to do those. I remember those, man. You had to call and follow up.
Yeah.
Now everything's on the internet only. Like everybody
Yeah,
where
you
I'm
could
at
just,
too.
like, go
So
in and you can check your application status, and it'll be like, "We're still reviewing," or, "Nope, you didn't get it."
Mm, mhm. Well, and everything's like I remember I'm older probably than both of you guys, and so we used to have to go in and fill it out. I mean, you
yeah,
hand
I
fill it
remember those too.
out,
Yep.
Yeah.
turn it into the manager. You pretty much have to talk to them to even find out if you can get an application. So it's so different
Yeah, but it was
now.
the hiring process was faster then too, because at least you're talking directly to somebody. Now it's like where I'm at,
Right.
it takes forever to get people in, and like we lose people so fast, and it's like you don't have anybody to replace them, and it's just complete chaos. And I'm like, oh great, here we go. It's like how long is it going to take? And then whoever's hiring these people where I work, I don't know. I want to look at I want to know what you're asking these people, because some of these guys you send over, I'm sorry, I just don't know where you found them at. Like they have no idea. Like I work as a very simple job. It's not hard to do, but they can't even follow simple instructions these days. And it's scary because it's like I'm not asking you to do much. Like literally I do more than you do. I'm just asking you to pretty much do a few things, clean a few things, and then talk to people at a register. It's really not hard, but you find grown
Yeah.
adults that can't even do that. I'm like, oh God, help us all now. Here we go. And to your
And I
point,
remembered back to the whole school thing, after that kid did what he did. I mean, my son, he's in, like, a rich school district. We're not rich by any means, but Yeah, so they actually brought in, children's
Hmm.
psychologists, and so, like, they have 3 on staff, and they implemented a program. I forget what it's called. I think it's, like, see something, say something, or like that, and so, like, if like, say, like, a student, like, goes to, like, a friend and says something concerning, like they're gonna harm someone or themselves or something like that, and that friend feels uncomfortable, they have, like, an anonymous kind of program where they can go and they can report that information so
Mhm.
that child can get more help, but they can report it anonymously. It's not like a, "This person told me that you said this to them." Like, it's not like a punishment kinda thing, it's like a more of, like, what is going on. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they just wanna, like, get to the bottom of it,
Yeah,
like,
get
before
them
it
more
becomes
talking
too
more,
much.
yeah. Makes sense, I mean, because that's what she was saying too, same thing, was Leah was saying the same, she's like, "Oh, well, they don't talk, that's the problem, her son doesn't say anything, but this way, at least they're saying something to somebody about something
Well,
they're seeing."
yeah, and that's I think our school I'm pretty sure both of our schools have that as well, like, it's because you're right, like, being anonymous well, heck, I've noticed a trend on social media where people now are in groups and they only post anonymously when it used to never even be an option,
Mhm.
which I've just been really curious about that myself because 'cause I'm like, "Why does everybody feel like they have to hide? Why
Well,
can't"
like, even on like, even if you're friends with the person nowadays, you can still mark the post as, like, anonymous.
Yes, yes. Isn't that I think that's, again,
It's
disconnecting
creep
us I think it's, again, disconnecting us from our humanity,
Listen,
and
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If y'all hang out some of the Facebook groups I hung out with in the '90s, yeah, being anonymous is probably the best thing for the things that got said in those groups. Like, I refer to Call of Duty lobbies a lot for anybody that doesn't play games enough. Yeah, those were pretty bad. Like the things that we said in there were just, whoo, man, it was horrible. Like we said some very terrible things to each other. So some of these groups I was hanging in, they have some dark humor things. It's like people don't want to be known, but they're posting some pretty bad things in
well,
there.
that's, like, giving them permission to do it if you can do it anonymously anyway, think about it,
But
because
how
what it does
anonymous is it really? Because I guarantee on Facebook side, they know who's posting it, though. You know what I'm saying? From that sense, I can
right,
almost feel like they're like, okay, cool, you can post and say it's anonymous, but we know who you are that's posting this. Like you have some kind of
Mhm.
IP trail that somebody knows what your
right.
account's linked to.
I feel like if it, like, became too much and, like, someone needed to find out, like, who that was, like, there's still some
Oh,
way
I
that they
believe it.
can
I
find
believe
that
it
out.
100%. There's no way now. After that court case came down and they cracked down on about having to police their own sites, about the crazy stuff that gets said on Facebook, especially like, a lot of the posts, all these wild like posts these guys are putting out there that they were leading up to the events of what happened. Oh yeah, I guarantee they know exactly who it is for
Again,
that
but it's not
reason.
teaching accountability whatsoever,
Yeah,
unfortunately. I think
it
this
isn't.
is another part of the conversation, right? Like, kids
Hmm.
are on this being able to post and not be accountable, and that's where that loops back to the bullying, right? Like, people are doing this and not being accountable.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
agree.
I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I forget where I saw it. I feel like I saw it on Facebook, but there was this story. I don't remember where the kid was from, but he was on TikTok, and this boy was like he was probably like 8 or 9 years old. Like he was really young. And he saw this trend where there was like this certain toy and like big influencers were putting this toy in the microwave and they were
No,
melting it. And I forget what the purpose of melting it was, but this little boy, he did the same thing, but it wasn't with this specific toy. It was just with an action figure and it ended up exploding, like, the microwave exploded, and he ended up with a face full of burning plastic on his face, and the pictures of this little boy's face, they were it was just so sad, like, this boy had, like, third-degree burns on his face,
Mm,
all from watching
Jesus.
something on TikTok.
Yeah.
mm,
See,
mm.
I tell you, the internet's a dangerous place. Stupidity runs deep out
Woo,
there.
this whole conversation will just make you really depressed.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's real though. It's like, now helicopter parenting is a need because if you're not watching what they're doing, you don't know what the hell they're watching. Especially, you can't even let kids play Roblox these days with all the predators that are wandering around on there too. And that was
Mm,
the crazy thing too when that came out because the guy who was going through the internet was hunting him down on there. They Roblox told them to cease and desist. I'm like, but you're telling a guy that's pointing out the fact there's these predators that are hidden on your game, and he's exposing them to get people to get them off of there, and you're telling them to stop. But why? Why are you telling them to stop? You know, and I forgot what the follow up to that was. I think it was somebody was they were contributing a lot of money or something. Like, but
I was gonna say it had to be
it
financial
had
more
to,
than
they had to
likely.
I think that's what it was. So it was something like that. I was like, but you're letting them prey on little kids, man. What the hell is wrong with you? Like,
God forbid if my son ever sees this episode, but he'll find out all my secrets. But I actually have, because like all of his social media it's all linked to his email. Everything he does is linked to his email. But what he doesn't know is that because on Google, on Gmail, you can log in as like however many accounts is, like I have like 6 accounts logged in and I get alerts on all of his emails, and I've caught him doing things on there that he wasn't supposed to do. So, like, I was able to catch him, like, get no, like, we don't do that kinda thing.
I mean,
Well,
but it's
I'm glad that
necessary.
you can keep up with that because my son has gotten 3 different burner phones. So that's the other thing that
What
that's
the
what I'm
hell?
See,
saying.
my son still hasn't
So,
found a job, so
yeah,
he can't get burner phones
well,
yet.
he doesn't have a job. He don't have a job.
How does he get the burner phones? What is he
I'm
doing?
telling you guys, these kids, they help each other out. They will help create fake
It's probably in
accounts.
It's a
school.
criminal network
Yeah,
going on over there.
exactly. I
These
mean,
Like, they can just trade anything. Like, say this kid has a burner phone and your son has something that this kid wants, they could just make a trade.
right, exactly, exactly. They're smart. That's what I'm
That's
saying, like,
scary.
They are.
we
That's scary.
really and so that's been like, because everybody's like, "Don't you have them locked down? Don't you?" And I'm like, "We do the best that we freaking can." But,
Exactly.
like, if they want it, they're going to get it. They're gonna find a way.
It's almost
And
like
people think I'm crazy because I have a Blink camera, point like, I have one on the inside of my door, like, right in front of the front door, and then I have one on the outside, and I pretend that they're for, like, safety, but no, like, I remember I snuck out of the house when I was his age. I was like, "He ain't sneaking out without me finding out."
Mhm, mhm.
I can just see it
It's
now.
like you
He's on
have
the
to be
camera.
a
What are you
helicopter
doing?
parent these days. Like, you just have to be a
I don't blame
helicopter
you.
parent.
You do. You really do these days, especially with the statistics we were looking at with Uncle Jimmy, man. It was scary. And I'm like, dude, just think about the things they see. Like, and then those videos that always pissed me off recently were those suicide videos where like, well, after you take your life, you'll get 20,000 messages. I'm like, well, I don't really think you should be posting this shit. Like, why? Why are you posting this video? Because me and a guy, I can't think where he
Mm,
was in from, but we had a conversation about this exact thing. And I was asking him, and he was like, you know, when you're at a certain point in your mindset, when you're going to commit suicide, and you're not listening to anything. So those videos are relevant. So if you're on the edge of it, it's going to push you to it. And then if you're there, it ain't going to matter because you're not listening to anybody else, anything saying. So at that point, you're like, these are counterproductive because everybody wants to be mental health friendly, but it's like, you're doing it the wrong way though. Like you all post things like for the month of May, but then after that, watch how many people still continue the conversation. Like, oh, okay, what's been a fun month? We're then talking about it. It's like, no, this continues to happen. Like you don't realize it just doesn't go away. We can't just flip a switch off and go, okay, well, I'm done feeling depressed today. You know, it's not how it
Well, I don't
works.
wanna say the name just to, like, protect people, but, like, I don't know if you guys saw on TikTok recently, or it was at the beginning of the year, but it just popped up on my FYP the other day. This, father, he ended up going to his social media, his TikTok page, and he left 2 videos. One was a goodbye to his kids, and another one was a goodbye to his mom,
No, I don't think I've
and
seen that.
then he ended up committing suicide.
yeah.
The
Well,
family did
that's
get
the
the
thing.
videos down, but of course, like, people did the whole stitching thing and the duet thing, and so, like, the videos are still
What?
out there, and it's so
Well, I'm gonna have to look
sad.
this up.
People are, like, using them?
D-
That's great. Mm.
have you never
I
been?
mean, those are
Have
It's,
you ever
fun
been on
people
TikTok? It's wild.
chasing
It's
it's
wild.
people chasing virality, like, everyone is out there trying to chase virality, so they're out there using this huge story that isn't even their story, and they're just using it to try to get more followers, like a bigger gaining, because 'cause they're just chasing the virality of it, like, they just want this money, and everyone thinks that social media is this great big easy money gig or whatever,
Hmm.
and they're just always after that virality, and that's not the reality of it, so they use these stories I can't tell you how many, like, there was this little boy recently, he had mental issues. He was unmedicated because his parents didn't believe in, like, mental health issues, and he ended up killing his dad in the middle of the night here in Pennsylvania, and
Mm.
I can't tell you how many people from other states got a hold of that story, and they were just using it to try to get more
I think that's
followers.
what's so sad about how now it's so I almost feel like it's so normalized mental health, but it's not in the sense of it's not created.
It's
It's
not in the
more
safe way.
no, it's not like, let's be compassionate, let's be empathetic, let's be
Mm-hmm.
caring about what this is actually happening to this person and to their life. It's more like people are, utilizing it, sounds like for, for their benefit essentially.
Mhm.
And then that I think is what also is changing people wanting to talk about it, right? Like, cause they're like, well,
Right.
I don't know if I want to share because this could happen.
Yeah, that's why I'm always
That's why I talk about it the way that I do. Like, I talk about, like, on my page, I talk about, like, how it really feels, like, and I try to connect to that person through, like, feelings
yeah,
and make it relatable. But, like, other people, they're just, like you said, out there, like,
Hmm.
they're using it the opposite way.
Yeah.
that's
They're
scary.
using it, I can't
Well, they're
tell you, like,
weaponizing it in a sense is what it feels like,
Exactly, exactly what
actually.
I was
yeah,
thinking of
like,
too.
I was using creator search insights the other day, and there it came up as, like, a recommended topic, bipolar tr or trending bipo or trendy bipolar. Bipolar is trending right now, and I texted my friend, he knew, and I was like, "I'm kind of offended by this, like, it's not a trend at all, like,
Right?
this is a miserable diagnosis to live with."
Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah, it's
mhm.
scary. It is. It's really. That's why people are like, "Oh, I'm going to do something on TikTok." No, because I don't agree with it because of that reason. Because, like I said, you can hardly have a real conversation about a lot of these things because then it'll start. Oh, well, we're going to ban your live. We're going to ban your live privileges because you're having a real conversation. That's why I stopped doing these episodes live because of that reason. I took the human element out of it because, like, some of these stories these people were sharing were getting pretty wild, and I was like, yeah, we can't keep going through this one. We did have some great responses to some of them. Other ones, it was just like that was my biggest fear is that, like people are gonna jump in and start saying some crazy shit while we're recording. And I'm not paying attention as I'm talking to them, instead of somebody moderating the chat. So now it's like I do the pre-recorded sessions now because that way we can be in this complete safe space. I can invite an audience in now if I want to. If now people want supporters to come in and the okay, we can get them in there, it's fine. They can be in the chat, they can see them talking to them, no one else can see it things like that too. But yeah, that's the reason why, because it's just like, those things there are just sickening. It's like people are sharing
Well,
these
do you
stories.
remember Mike from the Truth Table? Well, he's actually dealing with that right now, like, his account's like, it's almost on the like, his TikTok shop was already taken away, like, his account's on the verge of, like, getting shut down because of what he talks about, and, like, people are hating on him for it, like, he has an amazing story, and he talks about it, but, like, people will go into his lives and, like, report him and all kinds of stuff just because he's being real and honest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sickening.
Mm, mm.
Well,
Again, it's uncomfortable to them, right? It's
mhm.
actually uncomfortable to get real and get real vulnerable,
But the
so
but these reports though, they need to have somebody go through common sense and look at it and go, okay, well he's not doing anything wrong. He's having a real honest conversation. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's just
Yeah.
there's a lot that's got to be done. Ever since, it came to the US, it's like now it's gotten worse with these bans and things. But at the same time, there's some wild things that go on they don't even say anything about. And it's
mhm.
kind of political at this point. Oh, what gets us more views? Oh, these guys are so we're gonna leave them alone. But if you don't get us a lot of views, we're gonna come pick on you instead. Is what it almost feels like. So
Also feel like AI is also become an issue because if you think about it, it's all AI monitoring your lives. It's all
mhm.
AI, like it's monitoring everything, and AI isn't it's not always like 100% smart.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause it's
you know
not
what I
human.
mean?
It's not
Yeah,
human.
So
It's
like
really what it is. It's not human. You don't have the human element anymore. You
not
don't
human, not
yeah.
a
trauma
lot of times
informed.
I can appeal, like if I get like a notification or something during my live, like a lot of times I can appeal it. And then, like, I don't know if, like, a real person reviews it, like, I don't know how that works, but then sometimes, like, they lift the
Yeah.
like, the violation.
Yeah. Well, ladies, we're gonna have to wrap up this episode. Alynne, it was so great having you come be a guest. I am definitely gonna invite you to come be on Pete for Society, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Before we wrap
Sure.
up, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. What website are you on a social media that you choose that you like to share your things at?
Yeah.
Let us know.
So my website is alynnedavis.com. It's my name, Alyne Davis. And that's my handle on Instagram.
Mhm.
And then it's Alynnne Davis Therapy on Facebook. That's
Okay.
where I'm at the most. So
And
yeah.
guys, I'll have all these links in the bio. Jill, you want to plug everybody can find you too? Let them know your TikTok, obviously the Truth Table, do all this stuff. Lay it on, girl.
All right. So the biggest one I want to announce is our new podcast, the Truth Table podcast. It has me, Maureen, he who, well, I call him he who. His name is Anthony, and Mike. You can find us on TikTok, the Truth Table podcast, unapologetic AF, because we found out someone else has a Truth Table too. So we are unapologetic AF. And then you can find me on TikTok if you just do Jewel_Blaze, BLASE. That's me.
I thought she was going to get it out there for a minute. I'm just not picking a job. I'm just messing with you. But guys, you know where to find me. I'm Pete, Voice for the Voiceless, Pete from Anxiety, everything else, Spotify, all down the pie, everything else. Guys, listen, we're going to wrap up this episode of Voice of the Voiceless, guys. You know where to find us every Saturday. Jules, thank you so much for coming hang out with us. I appreciate it. Alynne, again, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. I appreciate it. Guys, as I
Man,
always
thanks
say,
for having me.
definitely,
Thank
guys.
you. It was a pleasure.
And as I always say, guys, be bold, be brave, be one of the voice of the voices. Until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
All right.